I'd like to call the Town Council meeting to order July 17th and stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Good evening, everybody. The first order of business is, actually, I'd like to pull item 32 on the agenda for the council and the public. It was an insurance issue or question, but so I'd like to pull that. Moving on to the approval of the minutes, May 15th, 2017, the work session.
So move. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. May 15th, 2017, the regular meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. May 15th, 2017, the executive session meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. May 22nd, 2017, the executive session minutes meeting.
I'll move that motion.
Okay. Oh, you weren't there. Do I have a second? Jill, were you there?
I wasn't there.
No, I know you weren't there.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Abstain. Abstain.
4-1 with an abstention. June 5th, 2017, the work session meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. June 5th, 2017, the regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Moving to the executive session, right? June 5th, the executive session, 2017.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. June 19th, 2017, the regular meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. And the last set, June 19th, 2017, the executive session meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Thank you, Ann. That was a lot of work. Well done. Very nice. Okay, the next is we have a showcase, a presentation tonight, and we're going to ask Barbara Wright to come on up to the podium. Can you take a couple of...
On your phone?
Going sailing later? Some of us never do.
And I'd like to ask Karen Flint to come up as well, and Steve Wright. So I just, this is a very exciting night, and we're happy to have Barbara Wright here tonight because she's done so many wonderful things for the community and for the senior center, and she is in her retirement or going to be working part-time. So we want to recognize her, and we have a nice proclamation, and I know Karen Flint has a nice thing that she'd like to read first. So why don't you come on up, Karen? You do that first. I put it right here.
Thank you. Okay. It has been an honor and pleasure to work alongside Barbara Wright for over the last 5.5 years at the Narragansett Community Center. Barbara, along with her late husband Ted, have been very instrumental in the operation of the center as you see it today. It's very popular for overnight trips, day trips, luncheons, and activities. Barbara enjoys being a participant of the Narragansett Notables Chorus for many years. They entertain many folks with their lovely songs. She enjoyed dancing with her late husband Ted, especially at Lake Pearl on St. Patrick's Day. She enjoyed all the holiday meals she organized with her senior friends. Barbara has a loving and supporting family and has 3 daughters who are a very special part along with her 8 grandchildren. Working part-time, great-grandchildren. Working part-time, she will have a greater opportunity to enjoy them even more. I wish Barbara all the best on her retirement and will continue our friendship, and I'm very pleased to have had the opportunity to work alongside Barbara. She truly is a special individual. You will still see Barbara in the office as she's working at the center on a part-time basis. I will continue to utilize her 28 years of experience in the day-to-day operations at the center. I will continue the relationship with the Narragansett Senior Association Board and its members. Thank you. Best wishes, Barbara.
Stay up here with her while I do the proclamation. And I have a proclamation for Barbara on behalf of the town. It's a proclamation honoring Barbara E. Wright, Facilities and Senior Coordinator of the town of Narragansett. Whereas Barbara E. Wright has been employed by the town of Narragansett since November 6, 1989, and whereas Barbara E. Wright retired on June 30th, 2017, after 28 years of service as the town's facility senior coordinator, and whereas Barbara E. Wright has faithfully served the town and its citizens, and whereas the leadership of our town will miss the official active participation of Barbara in the day-to-day affairs of the town and her constructive contribution to the senior adults. And now, therefore, the town of Narragansett asks all our citizens to join us in extending to Barbara E. Wright a deep appreciation for her distinguished service and our best wishes for a long, happy, and productive retirement. Signed and sealed by the town. So, congratulations. And I'd like to take a 5-minute break so she can take some photos with her family.
Barbara?
Okay.
Where's your camera?
Okay, your family can come up. We're going to take a 5-minute break. All right, let's. You get it now. I told you. I can do it because we're on a break. Barbara and Karen and Steve, one, two, and then your family. Perfect. You want? Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, take a nice photo. Hold up your proclamation too. Yeah, don't hide it. Dave, I don't see you smiling. All right, ready, everybody? And I'm going to jump in with Michelle, too. And her family's together. Yeah, it actually is. Careful, careful. All right, you want to get started? Or Matt still? Should I just bang this to get started again? All right, if he gives me a dirty, he's right there. If he gives me a dirty look. Okay, we'd like to get started again. Welcome back. The next showcase tonight is Christian Bourbonnais. So if he wants to come on up to the podium, he's an Eagle Scout and he has a very exciting project that he'd like to share with the council and the public. So welcome, Christian.
Thank you. My name is Christian Bourbonnais, and I am a Life Scout with Troop 1 Narragansett. hoping to attain the rank of Eagle, and I would like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to explain my project here today. What I have planned to do is build 2 flag repository boxes for old American flags that need to be retired. One has already been approved to be placed at the Veterans of Foreign Wars building in Wakefield, and the second is what I'm here to discuss tonight. I hope to place the second box here in the town hall somewhere in the lobby area where people can spot it and access it easily. I would like for the boxes to remain permanently in the town hall and VFW, where the flags can be taken care of by my scout troop and VFW members. The construction of the boxes will take place sometime in August, and the boxes can be dropped off at their locations within a few days after being built. The flags will most likely be picked up twice a year, and those are the basics of my project. Thank you again for allowing me to speak and for giving my project consideration, and I'm willing to take any questions that you have.
Nice job. Anybody have any questions? Okay, in a little while, we're going to take a vote on approving that.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving along on the agenda, and we're at the open forum, so if you'd like to come up and state your name, your address, and anything you'd like to say to the public, to the council. Come on up, Gloria.
Gloria Roman, 33 Wheatfield Cove Road. I just want to, I was wondering, as a few other people have, does the town council have a timeline in mind for a decision on the library project?
I'm going to respond to that hopefully by the end of this summer, maybe in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, we're close. We're close to, we have an executive session tonight, so yes, I know everybody's been waiting and we'd like to just finish up the negotiations, but definitely soon, by the end of the summer, a couple weeks.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to just publicly state a couple of facts about the library, because the general public doesn't really know everything that we do. And our library is usually open 331 days in every year. And on July 5th of this year, we had 728 visits. That means 728 people came in on that one day and used our library. Another thing is that we have 495 children who are registered for the summer reading program. So these are just a couple of many of the statistics that we have on the use of the library. And I think that people should know how often people are at the library and how much use it gets. And I guess contrary to what people might think, a lot of people in Narragansett do care about our public library and do care whether we have a wonderful library or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gloria. Richard?
Hi, Richard Vangerwish, 55 Mount View Road. I'd just like to urge a bit of caution on getting aggressive about an early settlement of an immensely complex issue, and that is the not getting the whole building. And I've been talking about this for years. This situation has gotten more significant, I'm hearing, and that of course is hearsay, that this is going to be a condo purchase. Condo 1, the liquor store; condo 2, the library, the rest of the building, I assume, and there will be a condo fee. This means we don't get rid of Gilbane. One of the big premises of being excited about, the community being excited about this, was the opportunity to get rid of an organization that has ill-served us. It seems that we are getting locked into a situation that isn't getting rid of Gilbane, is causing great complexity about sharing of costs between condo 1 and condo 2, and a condo fee. This is no easy thing to negotiate. This is no easy thing to sell to the state of Rhode Island, that we have done due diligence here. I remain totally concerned that we have locked into something that we are going to regret for years to come.
Thank you. Stanley.
All right, Stanley, before you start getting going, this flag depository is free. Okay, it's not going to cost the town any money. All right, so
I'm
stand down.
really so happy to see young people being involved. And in
State your name and your
flag,
address, Stanley.
Stan Wojciechowski, Narragansett.
Thank you.
Being involved with veterans type issues, with the American flag, with liberty and justice for all. As we said again, liberty and justice for all. And I just wanted to bring up one point. There's been a lot of discussion about parking on lawns, and people not being allowed to park on lawns. Okay, and I was just driving this weekend, in fact, down near that Eastwood Look area, and there I saw about 6 or 8 cars parked on the lawn. And I know that's been an issue down there, people parking on a lawn, not allowing it, shouldn't be allowed parking on lawns, such a terrible thing. Yet we have people who are not renting, owners, allowing their visitors to park on a lawn. So may I just say that justice for all. If someone is allowed to park on a lawn, then everyone is allowed to park on a lawn. There's no discriminatory issue here, no discrimination. Justice for all. So I hope we drop this issue on parking on lawns in this community. We need to park on our lawns. There's not enough space out there. It's bad enough we don't have parking places, and we just have to have that available. And if you allow it in the summer, then how dare you not allow it in the winter? How dare you discriminate? So I hope you consider in the future you'll look at this issue as a justice issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Patty.
Good evening. My name is Patty Arkwright. I'm the library director here at the Maury Lugents Memorial Library in Narragansett. And Gloria kind of stole some of my thunder, but on the same idea, I wanted to share with you some information that we've been gathering each fiscal year. At the end, we try to gather a bunch of statistics for the state and for our information to see how we did and that kind of thing. So these are the things we've come up with so far, and I thought I'd share with you as we go along through the summer as I finish the report in its entirety. So as Gloria said, she talked about the registered children for the reading program. We're up to 525 now, and we still have 2 more weeks to register for that. As far as last year's statistics, we have 7,918 registered users that call Narragansett Library their home. Our physical collection, I'd like you to just take a minute, think in your mind what you think we might have. Take a guess. Are you ready? We have over 67,000 physical items, which includes variations of course, books, magazines, but it's now including equipment such as iPads, wireless hotspots. So those are the kinds of things that take the space. That doesn't even count the e-books, in which, again, we'll get into that later on in the summer. We had 128,374 visitors, and the highest month for the last year was August, which was 13,476. We also monitor some of the tutor use. If they come in to use a table to help with the tutoring, it could be from elementary age students all the way up to high school and some college students. We had 534 534 sessions of tutors. The other thing that we now keep track of is our wireless use. We have a system that allows users to bring in their own devices and computers, and they log into our system, and we had 8,555 people coming in just to use that system. The last statistic for now is the one that we share with the consortium. Part of the agreement is we will lend our materials across the state. And so over the year, we lent 22,231 items to other libraries that were requested from us. So that's it. So I wanted to share some positive stuff with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Karen?
Karen Chapshaw, it's Wanda Street. At the risk of reiterating things you've heard before, but for those of you who haven't listened or for those of you who have never heard it, I've gone to libraries since I was a young child and spent quite a bit of time in the library. Besides for books, I was able, as a nurse, to look up very unusual diseases in medical libraries. And all this information is not as popularly believed on the internet. A lot of it is just journals, which certain libraries have subscriptions to. Later on, I utilized the law library subscription over at URI when I was getting my master's, and when I was also very involved in special ed in this town. I wanted to find out the cutting-edge cases that had to do with a certain situation with my son. I continue to love the library. As I get older, I become a part of a Scrabble group, which is about 20 people that regularly come in and out. We also welcome visitors. People that don't have families can feel very welcome to come, and it's become a very nice kind of support group. It's not just playing Scrabble, it's finding out about different things and building a sense of community. And there have been some very harsh editorials and some very harsh criticism of the library people, which I quite frankly find quite offensive. As a year-round resident that utilizes the library year-round, it's not all about tourists, it's about our community. And I applaud Susan, who has been there through thick and thin to all the library events that we've had, as many as she could come to. And I question the transparency of the other members of the board, because when we had to meet the candidates tonight, it was sort of patch job, because not everybody was able to come to the same ones, and we couldn't get a true transparent opinion about where the candidates stood. And now that you're on the board, on the council, I find it even more tricky to try and figure out where you stand. And to me, it's caused a deep division in the town, because people want to feel that you care about the people that elected you and that you really are public servants. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody else wishing to speak? Paul?
So the question isn't, is the
state your name and your address.
Paul Zonfrillo, Narragansett, Rhode Island. The question isn't whether the library is good. This is a little bit of a red herring. The question is, in this entire landmass of Narragansett, we're being told that the only place we can locate the library is in the old Belmont building, where we won't own the land, we won't have control of our destiny, and we'll be at the mercy of a $9 billion company. A $9 billion company. If they want that land, they could pull it right out from under us. You know, this is probably the last library the town will ever build. think 10 years, 20 years from now. We won't need the extra parking spaces. People won't own cars anymore. The elderly will be driven by driverless cars. That's not science fiction. That's going on right now in Pittsburgh with Uber and other people. Virtual reality is coming to an unbelievable definition. 3D printing at home. So, you know, we're not saying the library is going to be a bad thing, but what's really offensive is that if the town council, and I think that was an unwarranted attack on the other council members, that not putting it at the Belmont is akin to not supporting it. Whereas the opposite is true. You know, I think the due diligence has to be done. And if this was pitched to the residents that it was at Belmont, it was a bait and switch, perhaps unintentional bait and switch. But how can you promise something that you don't have any purchase and sale agreement with or any agreement and say that's where we're going to put it? So really, that promise could not have ever been delivered on. Now, on a lighter note, Councilman Murray, I know that we've had some disagreements in the past. I think you've done a great job in trying to bring fiscal responsibility to this. I had a suggestion we could solve it for 75 grand. I know you'd like it. We buy everybody in Narragansett a Kindle, right? I'm just kidding. That's a little joke, okay?
What's he talking about?
It's only, I mean, you can get a really nice one with the color and everything. So, but anyway, that was just a joke, so I guess this is too heavy a topic to joke on. But look, the library is a great thing. Let's do it right. And let's not have this sunk cost if we said it was going to be at Belmont. Let's do the right thing. It looks like a complicated bad deal. And I believe that all the town council wants the right thing for the town and not just, it's just wrong to say if you don't support it in its present form that you don't support it at all. So continue your good work and your due diligence because the taxpayers appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Can I say something?
Sure.
I wanted to thank Steve Wright and his staff for the Philharmonic event. I didn't want to, the Philharmonic event, which is held every year, and it was, again, very well put together. I know the night was colder than we would have liked, but the rain held off, so I want to thank him and his staff and everyone at home. I know he put in a lot of thought into whether or not we should postpone it or not, but again, we had a great time, and the Philharmonic kind of accommodated. They skipped their intermission because they knew some of the people were, it was a colder night. But again, wanted to thank him year in, year out for that, and especially this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the public hearing. A motion to schedule a public hearing on an application for a transfer of beverage license from Kevin Williams, DBA The Breakers Pub, 140 Point Judith Road, Unit A5, Plot P, Lot 289, Narragansett, Rhode Island, to Proof Properties, LLC, DBA Proof. Do I have a motion?
Move to schedule the public hearing for
August 7th.
August 7th. Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Excuse me. A motion to schedule additional public hearings to amend the text of Section 5 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett entitled Zoning for the purpose of expanding the historic district zones.
Move to schedule for September 18th.
There's been a change, so I'm going to read the schedule, and then we'll just take it from there. September 18th, we had Ocean Road and Central Street. October 2nd is now Boone Street and Earls Court, and October 16th, Narragansett Avenue and Dunes Club. That change has been made because we're not going to do anything in the Towers area, so there's a switch. So there was a suggestion made by Dennis Lynch, actually, and the Historic Commission held their public hearings this way, where they were specified to particular areas in the districts. And so I think it's a good, we were going to try to do one, but we have 2 per hearing, and I think that will be, easy to at least.
So instead of 1 public hearing, we got 3?
But we have, yes. So, but it's important stuff because we're talking about expanding the historic districts and we want to
Sure.
hear from the public. So we wanted to take the time to break that out. So the schedule, I'll repeat it again. September 18th is Ocean Road and Central Street. October 2nd would be Boone Street and Earls Court. And October 16th would be Narragansett Avenue and the Dunes Club. Any discussion on that?
And those are all at regular meetings? Or are those off nights?
No, they're regular meetings.
Okay, so 8 PM.
Yeah, and do we have discussion from the public? Stanley? This is about the scheduling of the historic districts, as you know. So it has to stick to the scheduling piece, not to the content, scheduling.
That's right. And again, as a liberty and justice issue, I respectfully request that we do not schedule this hearing, which is going to limit our liberties. And I figure that's not a good thing to do and not absolutely necessary to limit our liberties, the liberties of the people of this town.
Well, from
Thank
one
you.
meeting to 3 meetings is certainly limited.
Thank you, Stanley.
Yes, I think we should have no meetings to limit liberty of the residents of this town.
Understood.
Okay,
you.
thank you. Any other discussion?
No.
Okay. We don't have to vote on those deeds, right? Yeah, so all those in favor of the schedule?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0, motion passes. The next one, a motion to schedule a public hearing to consider and put priority order of local requests for funding roadways, bikes, and enhancement projects under the state's 2017 Transportation Improvement Program update.
I move that motion.
Second.
Discussion, this is going to be scheduled for August 7th, because I know it's due into the state by the 11th. Right, Town Manager? Is that the timeline? August 7th, we want to schedule it, right? Because it's due. Okay. Any questions from the public about the scheduling? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 5-0, motion passes. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Any council members wishing to pull anything from the consent agenda? Hearing from nobody at this point. All those in favor?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. 5-0, consent agenda passes. Moving on to new business. A motion to approve and authorize Christian Bourbonnais to provide a flag repository box in the lower level of the town hall. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. I just want to thank Christian for his great work and idea, and I actually, from the clerk, got a nice picture of what the box would look like, and we went downstairs, so we're thrilled to have that opportunity for the public to place their flags in the box, so I think it's a great project, and we wish you the best with that.
Good luck.
Do you have a question on the
No
box?
cost, Stanley, no
Oh,
cost.
come on up.
No cost. No cost.
Of course, when I hear something about a flag, you know
That's right.
that's dear to my heart.
That's right.
Therefore, I want to commend him for all this work, and I'm thanking you for allowing me to do that. That's really something that we ought to instill in our youth, is to respect the flag and all it stands for. Thank you.
Stanley, I thought
Thank
you were stepping up to donate the lumber and the material.
Well, if they need some
Thank
donations,
you.
I'll chip in. I mean,
Thank you, Stanley.
Whatever
Yeah,
they
right
need,
there.
well, I'll chip in a little bit, because I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Christian, I just had one quick question as far as emptying the box. How often? So
Twice
it's gonna,
a year.
It's twice a year?
Yeah, depending on how popular it becomes, it could be 2 to 4 times a year, or
Oh.
whenever it fills up.
All right, so somebody would check on it if it were really full and
Yes.
somebody come by? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Congratulations. Motion 14, a motion to approve the tentative agreement with AFSCME Council 94, Local 1179.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. I just want to say a little brief something. I just want to thank 94 and the negotiating team for working with the town administration to come to a great agreement on both sides, and it was long, hard work, but I think it was done well and fair, and I'm just glad that we got a contract that was ratified, and congratulations to the workers, and we recognize all that you do, so thank you. Jim, did you want to say anything?
Thank you, Madam President. I too would like to thank the members of Council 94 who represented their negotiations team. Many are in the audience. Mr. Jim Senarini, who's the Legislative Affairs Director for Council 94 out of Providence. Also, Rick Terminisi, Jason Tialis, Darren McConnell, Terry Donovan, and Noreen Casey, who are employees of the town. The negotiation team representing the town was Town Council President Susan Bonanno, Susan Healy, Laura Kenyon, Patty O'Neill, and myself. This contract represents true reform, long overdue reform for the town, because it addresses the OPEB liability and reduces the liability by millions of dollars by the gracious concessions that the 60-plus members of Council 94 made for the town. I'll go over just some of those highlights very quickly. This is truly a win-win for the town and a win-win for the employees. It's a 3-year contract where 75% of the Council 94 members voted, and the approval was 88% to 12%. It represents a 2% raise the first year, 3.5% the second year, 3.5% the third year. It also includes a $500 wellness incentive to keep our employees healthy and give them incentives to go to doctor's appointments, blood pressure screening, and so forth. The highlights that the concessions that the members of Council 94 made was that there will no longer be spousal health care and dental benefits upon retirement for the employee. It will be an individual plan. Also, there'll be no health or dental care for that employee after age 65. These concessions are for existing employees, and were very tough concessions for them to give up. But when it was explained to them that this would give the town financial stability over the next 30 years and reduce this OPEB liability by millions of dollars, they did it. And I think every resident in this town should be very grateful for their employees, not only for their hard work, for their sacrifice, giving back to the town to keep this town strong so we never end up as a front page article 20, 30 years from now. And I'm very grateful myself for being part of this negotiations team. So thank you on behalf of the town, Council 94, thank you very much for what you've done, and thank you for your negotiating in good faith. Thank you.
So I just have, we were just briefed prior to this meeting on the negotiations and the agreement, and I want to commend the town manager, the town solicitor, Susan, anybody else from the town staff, including Laura, Kenyon, and others, Susan Healy, for all the hard work. I think the number of meetings was somewhere 8 or 9 or 7 or 8.
8 meetings.
So 8 meetings to come to agreement on some issues that have been long overdue in addressing. And I think for all those that track and pay attention to the long-term finances of this town, it's a home run. So I appreciate all the hard work.
Richard?
Well, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I'd like to commend both parties involved for helping us to get a reduction on something that is ultimately mysterious, and to cut down on the mystery is a good thing indeed, because the town, perhaps understandably, has promised more than it can do. And the big problem is, and I mentioned this many times, that in this state, the losers, if there is a bankruptcy, are the retirees and the current employees, not the people that hold the bonds of Narragansett. Well, we saw this in Central Falls. We don't I can still remember Rosemary Booth, who was head of the state finance revenue, coming to visit with Pam Nolan and myself, stressing the fact the state cannot afford another Central Falls. And please, if we can continue this on with the police and fire, we don't have a problem with the school teachers. But we do have a continuing problem that perhaps we can build a positive momentum on for police and fire so that we can really promise what we can afford. Remember, we don't have to fund OPEB, and the town has not been funding it at the proper amount. And I can understand why. So thanks again to all the people involved.
Thank you, Richard. Stanley.
Yes, I came tonight ready to look at all the details and expect some kind of disaster. However, I have to change my mind and say I am impressed that some positive direction is happening here. Recognition of our financial issues and dealing with them. So I also want to commend all those concerned that recognize and pay attention to finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Okay, seeing nobody else, all those in favor of the contract?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Congratulations. Motion 15. Motion 15, a motion to adopt an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 78, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances in the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Utilities, Water Rates and Changes. This is a second reading from Jeff on the water rates, and it is an increase. You all remember that, 10 a quarter, 40 for the year.
I'll move that motion. Did we?
Second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted to remind the public it was a second reading, and it's an increase on the rates. Okay, any discussion from the public on the second reading? Okay, from the council? All those in favor?
For the record, average home is $40 a year.
Thank you, Patrick. All those in favor?
Aye.
No, I voted no the first time.
Okay, and Jill, did you vote?
Aye, yes.
Aye. Okay, so the four of us are affirmative and one nay. 4-1. Motion passes. Motion 16, a motion to adopt a resolution amending the official list of parking restrictions and regulations in the town of Narragansett in accordance with the Narragansett Code of Ordinances. This is Middle Road. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This was second reading from the chief. Any discussion on Middle Road? Stanley.
Typically, we don't take testimony when there's the second reading if there's no new information.
Okay, thank
But
you.
it's Stanley.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and he talks on every item.
Yeah.
Well, Stanley, is it brief? Do you want to say something quickly?
I just want to follow up on justice for all. Whatever the issues are, whatever the restrictions are for the summer, should also be for the winter.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's justice.
Thank you.
We should pay attention to that, everything we do.
So that's seasonal discrimination?
I don't care what kind of discrimination it is. It is a discrimination.
Okay.
It's not justice
Thank you, Stanley.
for all.
Thank
He's
you.
answering him over
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
If he
he's
wants to
turning
nail
to
me,
me.
I'll
Okay,
nail him.
let's call it to a
We want
vote.
justice
All
for
those in
all.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, motion passes. Number 17, a motion to adopt an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 14, the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Businesses, Rental Registration Form. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. So I put this on. This is a second reading, and the changes were an increased number of bedrooms on the registration form, a notary requirement, and a fee, which we talked about, which is actually already exists. So I just wanted to remind the council that it's a second reading. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
4-1, motion passes. Number 18, a motion to adopt a resolution establishing the Narragansett Town Facilities Fee Schedule. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. This is put on by Jill.
Right, so it's not actually establishing the fee that they've already been established, but what we'll be doing is extending the resident fee to non-resident town employees. I checked with Steve, and he did a quick look at Kinney Bungalow and North Beach Clubhouse, and in the past 5-10 years, we haven't seen any town employee who's not a town resident actually rent any of the facilities. So in order for us to have more eyes, more people in our facilities to gain more exposure for the town of Narragansett, to make more money for us, I thought it'd be a good idea to extend to our employees the opportunity to rent out these establishments at the rate that a resident would.
But they're non-residents,
Correct, non-residents.
Do we know how many? Oh, sorry.
So we would not be taking any money away. We'd only be gaining money because it's not being used by employees who are non-residents right now.
Do we know how many? I'm just curious. How many non-resident employees are? I'm just curious. I don't know. Is there 50? Is there 20? Is there 100?
You got me, Mr. Moretti. I don't have the exact.
Well, I know
number,
you're
but-
one, so that's
No,
good. So
yeah, I'm one. There's, if I had to give an estimate, it probably would be about half.
Oh, okay. All right.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
Anybody from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. And I just have to say, I love the employees, but they're non-residents, so I take issue with that. Number 19, a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept a resolution amending the official list of parking restrictions and regulations in the town of Narragansett in accordance with Narragansett Code of Ordinances, Star Drive area. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
So
This area has been
Can I start
problematic.
this? Yeah. So, so thank you for your help, Chief. Thank you for your help. So there's, and I have tens of pictures of this road and this surrounding area, and I know it's been a problem for years, but maybe it's the fact that we haven't had as many beach days this year as last year, but Star Drive West, I mean, you could barely fit a vehicle down the center of the road on a busy day, and I know there's a problem with parking in general, but this to me is just unacceptable to have the roads this congested in a neighborhood, in a residential neighborhood. So I just want to make sure I made it very clear that the residents of that area have contacted me over and over. So I thought it was important to put it on. So.
Yeah, it's been difficult there. So I'm happy. I'm not always so full of the restrictions, but so needed. I've gotten a lot of calls in that area, and I think the traffic is just going down farther. So I think it was a smart move to look at that whole particular piece, and I know the municipal parking group took a look at that too, so I'm satisfied with that. Any questions or comments from the council? From the public? Karen?
About 2 weeks ago, I wrote Mr. Manny a letter because I know he's very busy, and it's hard to get in to see him if he's busy with something else. I feel very strongly that the block between Caswell Street, if you will, and the south parking lot.
Karen, this is a motion on a yeah, but it's particular streets in the north, you know, towards near the Dunes Club, Star West, all those areas. So that's what this motion is speaking to.
Well, I'm just going to say it's a safety issue and it's a fire hazard for the rescue trucks.
Okay, you can email that, but this particular motion is that particular area. Any other discussion on the resolution?
So when September, when we do our whole beach analysis, Steve will probably want to talk about what feedback you will have gotten by the end of September on the parking, not just here, but the outlying streets. I know. A lot. I know there's a lot. So, but I think we'd want to incorporate that into that conversation, which we've done before, you know, but just wanted to remind Steve about that.
Any other discussion on the resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. And thanks, Chief, for the work on that. number 20, a motion to instruct the solicitor to amend language in disorderly conduct ordinance. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. This was put on by Jill.
Right, so I put this on for council discussion to see whether we'd like to have Patty take a look at the language. I want to start off by saying what this is not first, especially to the chief. This is certainly not me saying that the chief and his department are not doing a good job. They're doing a good job. They're doing a great job, and I really support and respect the chief and his staff. What this is saying is, over the last, well, since I've been on council, I've been going to neighborhood association meetings. I recently was at the Village of Point Judith, Briggs Farms, Metatuxet, and a lot of commentary coming in is that the town would like, the residents would like to see the language on this ordinance tightened up a bit to be very specific to an area of drunken behavior. So I'm not quite sure, Patty, what can be done as far as that, but if you do read through the ordinances, which I have done, I know you have as well, it doesn't really sit specifically to that problem. So I just think it'd be another tool that the police could have. It's certainly something that the residents are looking for to us to really enforce this disorderly conduct, and just wanted to throw out to the council to see what you guys think.
So yeah, sorry, Matt. So if this is a motion to discuss, then great. I don't know if there's any suggestions in new language or.
Well, what I just wanted to do is have Patty take a look at it for us, if there is, if the council is in favor, to have him take a look at it to what type. I mean, certainly we don't want to have any other additional lawsuits in the town, so we need to be careful of our verbiage, but I just want to see if we can tighten it up.
So I mean, for me personally, I talked to the chief about it, and he seems to be comfortable with the way it reads now. Have you guys gone through this with the police department and kind of addressed the way it stands now? I don't know. This is kind of beyond me from criminal kind of ordinances, but so I take the lead of the people that are actually doing the work. So I'm not sure if this is.
So we have specific ordinances about specific behaviors. The disorderly conduct ordinance, Jill was looking at, and I think she's saying she'd like to see if there's options to tighten it up, because you have your open container ordinances, and so our. The police will tell you they're going to go, if they see somebody with an open container or people fighting in the lawn, they can use those ordinances to, go at that. But what about this particular ordinance? Is this something that's being used? Is this something that's being enforced? And is it something that, if it's not, do we want to tighten it up? I think that's part of the rationale from what I've heard.
And I understand that. So I guess maybe because the way I work, I don't put it on the agenda. I just ask to take a look at it. So that's why I'm confused. If we pass whatever this is just giving him, so I'm just confused if we're discussing.
No, it's a better way to do it, right? Because if you remember last term, that many times there was items on the agenda that were put on, and because people went and talked to the solicitor, and they didn't have a general conversation about the item. So I've always tried to put the motion to instruct, so my colleagues, I get to hear what they have to say, and then they may say, Matt, it's not an issue, we don't want to go down that path.
So if the, I have one more question. So if we instruct Patty to do this and he comes up with a new ordinance, then it will come before the council once again to say yes or no?
Correct.
So this motion is to instruct, but could I have the chief come up? I hate to put you on the spot, but it might be helpful just to hear what you have to say. I know that.
Right, well, I'd like to say something.
I'd like to, oh yeah. Go ahead.
Previously, in being on the receiving end of law enforcement,
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Disorderly conduct should be left. If anything's done, I don't want to see it taken away from the discretion of the officer on the beat. Because disorderly conduct could be anything. So I don't want to take away that ability from the officer on the beat.
Okay.
This would be adding.
Well, I think vaguer, if it's more vague, then he can make the decision under his discretion. Because you're not there in that moment, you're not there in that time, you don't know what's going on, you can't fine-tune an ordinance like this. I mean, this is just my experience, and I don't want to, I'm not a...
Well, there's no... So
hang on a minute. I'm not a law enforcement person, and I think all this needs to be recommended by our chief and the professionals.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but there's no changes right now. This is just an instruction.
I understand, but
so
the thing is, I don't want to change to redefine it where the officer has to make a phone call and call the chief or call somebody to make a decision. I mean, that's what we put these folks out there for, is to defend the laws, and it's at their discretion when an ordinance like this.
It was included in the packet, the list of disorderly, so did you read through them? I mean, they give specific behaviors, so what I'm suggesting is that this specific behavior be added in.
Yeah, so
I'd like to hear from the chief,
let's
certainly.
hear what the chief has to say.
Well, not having a specific ordinance in front of me, I can't really talk about any provisions, but my concern when I heard about it was that when we're talking about drunken disorderly, if you're gonna make that a charge, you're adding an element to an ordinance that doesn't exist. So that's like another hurdle that we would have to jump over. Right now, the way the ordinance is written, it's modeled after the state law, and it's very carefully written towards specific actions on a person. So we don't have to address whether or not they're intoxicated or whether they're on narcotics or anything of that nature. It's silent on the issue, which we prefer, because that would be another hurdle for us to jump. In terms of criminalizing public intoxication, again, I'm not a lawyer, so I would defer to the solicitor on this, but I think that could be tricky because the state public policy for like 40 years has been that abuse of alcohol is a public health issue. It's not a criminal justice issue. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's not done very often in this part of the country anyways. I think the closest state that does it is Pennsylvania. But I'm open-minded to see if he comes up with something, but those are my main concerns, is that we have an ordinance that's tested, that's been through the challenges in court. We make a change, or am I going to find myself in a situation where we're going to be challenged and having a fight that I don't need to have, because we use this ordinance a lot. Between the state and the ordinance, we have like 119 arrests since I've been chief, and which is typical for Narragansett. I mean, that's a charge that we use a lot. It's very frequent here, and I think it's working for us. So, but I would be open to see, if he had ideas and something he came up with, I would, look at it. Those are
But
my
presently, the town ordinance mirrors and echoes the state ordinance.
concerns. There's
I mean,
some slight differences, but for the most part, it mirrors what you'll see in the state.
okay.
So I have no problems, I mean, instructing the solicitor with this motion. I have no problem with that. I have no problem deferring to your expertise and to the solicitor's expertise. And then I would read whatever comes back and make a decision then.
For the record, this is all I had. I didn't have the ordinance in front of me.
It's in the packet.
I didn't have it.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so if we vote
I know the
on the
ordinance very well.
affirmative and we vote for this, it's just instructing you could come back with, the solicitor could come back and say it's fine as it exists on the books, or he could come back with some additional language, and at that point, we would specifically know what the addition would be to the language, right? Okay.
As part of that, can I ask for something?
Yeah.
The 119, those statistics would be helpful as well. Probably the chief could give those to the solicitor in terms of the 119. That would be helpful, I think, for us. How often is this being used and enforced vis-a-vis because it's a vaguer ordinance as opposed to the, the open container, fighting ordinances. So that would be helpful to me, at least, if everyone would like to see that information.
Paul, did you have your hand? Did we? If you're going to speak, you got to come to the podium. Is there anybody wishing to speak on this? Maureen?
My name is Maureen Kerrigan. I live at 9 Wilderness Drive in the village of Point Judith. As a preface to my comments, I want to note that my husband and I are the parents of 4 grown daughters from their mid-20s to early 30s, all college graduates. On the night of March 9th, sometime around 9:30, I just hung up the phone from speaking with my husband who was traveling in Colorado. I was in our bedroom on the 3rd level of our house and about to start getting ready for bed when I heard a loud thud on the deck on the back of our house, followed by a very loud expletive. The deck is off the 2nd story of our home, about 9 feet off the ground. We don't have outside stairs leading to either of our decks. It was apparent to me that an intruder was trying to break into our home. My first assumption was that someone was using a ladder and had fallen. Very frightened, I immediately called our neighbor and asked him to come right over. I stayed on the phone with him until his backyard light came on and then I called the police. The dispatcher could easily tell from my conversation with him that I was frightened and upset. Our home has always been a place of safety and comfort, and I did not know what to think at this moment. The dispatcher kindly stayed on the phone with me. I told him that my neighbor Kevin was in the backyard and had a flashlight on the intruder. I looked out our bathroom window and could see the head of this intruder halfway up the tree, above the railing on the deck, 12 feet above the ground. I relayed to the dispatcher that I could see his head from the upper window. Within a few minutes, an officer arrived in the backyard and reported to the dispatcher, who relayed to me that it was a very intoxicated female in heels in our tree. The dispatcher let me know that the officer would come to the front door and speak with me when he was able. I thanked both the officer and my neighbor for coming to my aid, and then asked the officer what he needed from me in order to make charges as part of her being arrested. It was then that I received the second shock of the night. I was told that this intoxicated URI student who came onto our property without an invitation, climbed a tree, attempting to get on our deck, and therefore, presumably to get into our home, could not be arrested as she was too drunk to know what she was doing. Further, I apparently had never informed her that she wasn't welcome on my property. My husband and I was flabbergasted and asked how this could be. He told me there was nothing he could do. He was driving her home and commented, "That's what we get for living in a liberal state." My husband and I requested a meeting with Chief Corrigan to discuss this incident. I won't put words in the chief's mouth, but it certainly appeared to me that it was a point of frustration that he couldn't offer answers to our questions. We weren't able to even get a copy of the incident report because she, the intruder, apparently has more rights than we do as violated homeowners and taxpayers. I ask that the town's solicitor and counsel review and amend the disorderly conduct ordinance in a way such that the incident I experience results in consequences and not just a safe ride home for the perpetrator. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maureen.
I had a similar incident maybe 2 years before, and I agree with the previous speaker. The harm done to me was significant. I lost my voice for a year in the process of trying to deal with an intruder. Unfortunately, the police reaction wasn't as quick as it could have been, but there was an injury to me. Nothing was stolen except my vocal cords. And I can understand why the previous speaker felt this way. This is a deep hurt to the individual that is involved. And who really cares if a person loses his vocal cords because of this prolonged shouting session with the intruder? I care.
Thank you. Stanley.
Doesn't only happen there. My son was attacked here in town, in the Pier area. And he was stabbed numerous times and was in a coma due to a break into our home. So this happens. But I do commend an effort to try and improve the situation, to try to fix it. And I think probably one thing we probably haven't looked at enough is the cost recovery. Cost recovery. I want to see each drunk that is charged pay $2,000 in cost recovery. I, as a taxpayer, do not want to pay for police action because of somebody being drunk. They must pay for their own behavior. So we must, part of this should be immediately $2,000 for each person charged as cost recovery. Never mind this $500 that I happen to notice with that magnet I gave you. $500 is nothing. It's nothing. It's minuscule to the, especially the colleges in today's world. It's nothing. It must be $2,000, and we must pursue that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff?
Jeff Dentler, Village of Point Judith, and yes, I'm the spouse that Maureen had talked about. What was mentioned earlier, and I totally agree with, is allowing the police to have a wide range of discretion. I'm a former police officer in a city twice the size of Providence. I've had to deal with many issues and disorderly conduct around drunks. Not only did we have our incident in March, but 5 months earlier, a woman who is a widow, she's a senior citizen, her husband died a few months earlier, had a very similar incident. URI's drunken student goes up to her front porch, wee hours of the morning, pounds on the door profusely, loudly, until she got up out of bed and asked, not opening the door, but yelling through the door, "What do you want?" And he thinks that's his rental property and wouldn't leave. He lays down on the front porch, falls asleep, and she calls the police. They arrive and take care of it. One of the questions that you asked at this council tonight was, out of the the chief of police mentioned 119 or 115 incidents in which you wanted some documentation on. I would also suggest you ask how many times the police have driven home drunken students. And we've not charged them with anything. Let me go back to our scenario now that happened in March. Because I'm a former police officer, I do have a service gun that I still have. If I had been home and not in Colorado, the lady would have been at gunpoint, and I would have held her at gunpoint until the police arrived. Who would have been in more trouble then? Me. Because she was drunk, and she didn't have control of her facilities. I have a gun. I'm more dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anybody else wishing to speak? When you come to the podium, just state your name and address.
Yes. John Hanley, 10 Wilderness Drive, Narragansett.
Did you get that? Can you say that again?
10 Wilderness Drive, Narragansett, in the Village of Point Judith.
Thank you.
It appears you're leaning that way, and I'm just here to ask you, really should look at that ordinance and see if some improvements can be made. So situations like this, and I've been down there a long time, and I've got anecdotes I could tell you about the same type of situation. And I just ask you to look at the ordinance and make improvements if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so this motion is to instruct, you can research the ordinance and you can bring something back and then we can look at that. So this is just sort of the research stage, correct?
Yeah, and I just would, not that Patty needs to know this, but the city of Newport has some pretty hefty fines for behavior. I'm not sure about public intoxication, but I know for a fact that disorderly and nuisance type ordinances in the city of Newport, I think the fine is upwards of $1,000 per incident, et cetera, et cetera. So I would really suggest that you look at a city or a town that resembles not the population of Narragansett, but the demographic, which means, you know, a heavy influx of transient people, you know, so both tourists in the summer and also students in the winter. Large majority are perfectly fine. Some minority transient residents or visitors need to be, you know, at least have some deterrent. So.
Any more discussion on researching the
No,
language?
it's clearly a problem, so I think we want to see, see what we can come up with. Yeah. our job is to try to solve the problems that are out there,
Yep.
so.
Okay, all those in favor of researching the language of the disorderly conduct ordinance and bringing it back?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, so that's, you're going to work together, the solicitor and the chief, look at what we got and then bring it back. Perfect, thank you. 5-0, motion passes. Motion 21, a motion to accept the 2017 Rhode Island Foundation grant in the amount of $9,000 to authorize the town manager to sign the agreement subject to review and approval of the town solicitor. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
This is from Steve. Anybody from the public? All those in favor?
Great job, Steve. Thank you very much.
The $9,000 on the grant. Is that what you want to? We're on
Irrigation
21.
system.
It's Kenny Bungalow Irrigation
Irrigation system.
System, Rhode Island Foundation. I don't
It's
think
a
it's the
grant.
one you want to
Yeah.
talk about.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, motion passes. Motion 22, a motion to accept a grant in the amount of $750,000 for the design and construction of Phase 4A of the William C. O'Neill South County Bike Path and authorize the town manager to sign same after review of, by the town solicitor. And this comes from Jeff. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So happy this is the money that we were given. Yay. Do you want to say anything on this motion, manager, about the bike path 4A? This is the windfall of money that we're getting from the state.
So this is a direct result of the town taking on additional responsibility. Mr. Cesarine, Mr. DeLuca, and myself, we met many times. We agreed, the state agreed that, you know, the town could get this done much quicker, much more cost efficiently if we took on the project. It's more work for the staff, but they gladly did it, and they took it on, and I'm happy to say that this bike path will be done correctly, and should be done on time. So hopefully, and we're also working on taking on the rest of the bike path in the same manner. I'll let the cat out of the bag. But, so this is a good thing. We're getting $750,000 to make that 1,375-foot extension to the elementary school, and then we'll move forward from there for the next phase.
Excellent. Richard? Thank you. Jim?
Has the school committee approved this process, or is that going to come later?
This is from the economy money, correct?
Yes. You're talking about the money or where it's
No,
going?
has the school committee in the
Yeah,
past?
Yes,
been-
yes.
Yeah, so we've worked
Yes.
closely with the school. They made some requests so
Yes.
that the bike path is insulated from the school so that people
There's a
aren't going near the
berm, it's
school.
separated.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
definite. There won't be a later
No.
on
No.
No,
discussion.
pulled them in early into the discussions, to make sure there was a level of comfort and safety for the schools and the superintendent, so absolutely. Richard? Oh, Stanley, do you want to say something else?
You want us to give the money back, Stanley? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
Is there any tax dollars that's involved? Do we have to match anything, or is there anything we
No.
have to spend?
No, and the good thing is, this money is there. It's earmarked for bike paths, for green economy, green projects like this. So this money is there. If Narragansett doesn't use it, someone else is
No,
going to
no,
use it.
I love the idea.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm praising you for that. I just didn't know if we had a piece of action in here
No,
that we had to kick in.
Not on this,
Oh,
no.
fine, thank you, good job.
Thanks.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Thank you to the state of Rhode Island. Okay, the next motion is 23, a motion to award the bid for professional engineering, land surveying, permitting, and design services, bike path, Phase 4A to the lowest qualified bidder, Deprete Engineering, Inc., in the amount of $46,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? The lowest bidder?
So this is a little different. So just procedurally, the other one's accepting a grant. Here, are we putting out the money and then getting reimbursed from the bond? Like that, I
Yes,
was a
so
little.
Jeff, you want to come up and give an explanation?
I just want to
for-
make sure, like, how that's going to be paid
Yes.
and done.
Will you just summarize it, but he's going to come up and say exactly what you just said.
But I think it's important,
Yeah,
because
for
it's
the
not just
public.
a straight acceptance.
You are correct, Matt. It's a reimbursement process. So we upfront the money, and then the state reimburses us.
And do procedure, like, what does that look like under the bond? Like, we haven't really, so,
It's similar to pretty much all of the other state grants that we've received over the years, whether it's been Parks and Rec or some of the work that we've done, where you typically submit reimbursements requests to the state either monthly or quarterly. And they're part of the process. They've got to review the design. They're going to review all the pay applications along the way. So, we'd
So is the
probably be waiting
46
30 days for a reimbursement, but that's something that we can handle cash flow wise.
so is the 46 part of the 750? Is it?
I'm sorry?
Is the 46 part of the 750?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so basically, we're accepting the grant in one motion, and then as these pieces are done piecemeal, they're all going to add up to 750. So we're going to see items like this several times.
Yeah, this is the contract for the design, the survey, and the permitting. The next item that you will see would be the actual bids for construction once it's put out.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Any other questions on the debris engineering? Anybody from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 5-0, motion passes. I'm so excited about that project. Okay, motion 24. Motion to approve the miscellaneous paving work at the Scarborough WWTF to be completed by DeAmber Construction, Inc. in the amount of $14,945.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Discussion. Anybody from the council? Questions?
Nope.
This comes from Jeff. Anybody from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, motion passes. Motion 25, a motion to approve the contract amendment number 1 for the irrigation system improvements related to the miscellaneous improvements to Allagash and Medituxet Pump Station and the Scarborough WWTF project with James Jeremiah and Associates, Inc., and an amount not to exceed $27,200.
So moved.
Second.
This comes on from Jeff. Any questions? Anybody from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Number 26, a motion to approve the annual software maintenance agreement with Vision Government Solutions in the amount of $16,883. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I have a
This
question.
comes from Dan.
Yeah, I have a question. So I thought, is this, does this have anything to do with the assessment software or the company that does our assessments? Or is
No.
this a
I don't
different,
think, no.
it's a different company?
No, it's a, yeah.
Same company.
Oh, it is?
Same company.
They just purchased Opal Software Technologies a while back, and they just haven't integrated into the same company, so.
But this has nothing to do with the fact that we hired somebody different, right?
No,
okay.
nothing at all.
Yeah, they kept the software, but they kept the software, but they switched new assessors.
They did, yes, yep.
Any other questions for Dan? Thank you, Dan. Questions from the public? Stanley? Boy, Stanley. He's here. Bless you.
Thanks.
Put him up in a tree.
Stand at one time here, I don't understand. So this is the same company that does our so-called vision appraisal. It took over the vision appraisal.
They
another
own the
company.
software, they're not doing the appraisals.
So they're doing the assessment.
They're
So
not
now
doing
we
the
got the same company doing the assessment
No.
for appraisal as doing this.
No, we got a different company doing the appraisals. They're keeping the
Assessments.
software to keep the, when people log on and they look at their house, they're keeping that vision appraisal look. We're using vision appraisal software, but we're using another company's assessors.
And the only reason I bring this up is I saw over here rental registration, and in an effort to consolidate and reduce expenses, if we could take all the information from rental registration, all that information in rental registration and vision appraisal is kind of duplicated from my perspective. Anything you see in rental registration, number of bedrooms, all these issues are already on vision appraisal assessment website.
Well,
So
theoretically,
why are
that-
we duplicating a second list here at this $200,000 plus?
Well, it might not be correct
This
in
is
the-
this is not, well, it's not correct, and that assessment company should be fixing it.
Okay.
We should put their feet
Stanley,
under the fire
direct
to correct
So can I
that.
direct something to the president of the council? So
Yeah,
I want to
direct
make
it
sure
to
the
me.
I want to make sure the public understands.
Yeah, because I
And
don't understand.
Well, no,
you
I'm
know.
going to hopefully educate you. So
Thank you.
So the rental registration database is strictly for rental registration information. The assessment and the not appraisal, the assessment database is for assessments. Totally different. There's math associated with it. There's market values associated with it. There's historical information. Rental registration is for the town of Narragansett to understand what properties are being rented. Perfectly fine by me, perfectly fine by the large majority of people in this town. So they're totally different. The rental registration database doesn't really cost the town that much to administer. We have help in the building official's office. Yes, there is an expense associated with it, but it's totally different from the appraisals or the assessments done for property tax purposes, to calculate the tax roll for the town.
Right.
Totally different.
The information as far as number of bedrooms, owners, the owners of the property, the number of bedrooms.
So, President, some of that stuff is duplicated,
We're
but
duplicated.
it's names and addresses
Madam
primarily.
President, can I make a
Names
statement?
and addresses,
Yeah,
and
I
number of
just want to
bedrooms.
go back and forth with it.
All that's,
Okay,
you know,
thank you,
it's all
Stanley.
Duplicate. I'm trying to stop the duplication.
Okay.
Because I
The
think it's
point
over
well
I think it's over $200,000 for this duplication. I think, if you look at it.
Okay, we'll take a look at the
I want to stop the
duplication.
duplication. Hopefully.
Thank you.
Financial responsibility.
Thank you.
That's not
Thank you very
accurate.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it is that much.
Thank
I think
you.
it is.
All right.
But
You
look at
think
the
a lot
numbers
of
to make
things.
sure. If it isn't that much, give me the number.
Did you
think I
want to
saw
say
it there.
something,
Yes,
Patrick?
for the record, in a perfect world, ideally, the bedrooms on the registration form match the vision appraisal
That's right.
record. So
Should.
that's in a perfect world. Sometimes we're not in a perfect world.
Okay,
so.
the 3 minutes.
Well, I'm saying, well, you are in charge. You tell that assessor that he better get it right. We don't need to get
Stanley,
a second
your-
list to get it right.
your time's
Get the
up,
first-
Stanley.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
I'm
it
answering this
is.
question. I want the first guy to get it right so we don't have to hire a second guy.
Okay, we
That's all
got
I'm
your
saying.
point. Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Next.
thank you very much.
Catherine, thank you.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I thought we weren't happy with vision appraisal, and that's why we changed companies. And yet we're going to keep vision appraisal software, so when this new company feeds the information in, aren't we going to get the same results as vision appraisal?
So can I address this through the
Yes,
president?
yes.
All right,
You can address it through the
There's-
president,
I will.
yes.
So and I'm going to defer to Dan, but
Yeah.
there's very limited numbers of companies that actually do this work from a technology standpoint. The assessment and the math that is involved with doing assessments for tax rolls, that's what we replaced. We're very happy with the fact that we replaced them with somebody else to do our assessments. The software is the software. The software is pretty much uniform across the United States. So the fact that Vision owns it, well, we can't control that. And there's limited companies, and I'll have Dan comment on that, but there's limited companies that can bid on that particular piece of what we have to do to assess the properties in town.
But is it likely that we're going to end up with the same type of, assessments?
I don't know.
Some people weren't happy with their assessments, and if we're using the same software, inputting the information, and it's spitting out the other thing, I don't know.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
It
how it's
doesn't
going
work
to happen.
that
I'm not sure how this solves a problem, changing a company if we're using the same software.
All right, Dan, why don't you come back?
I don't know
Thank
that
you,
much.
Catherine. We'll have Dan come back up, and maybe he can answer some.
A little bit of confusion here. This is actually the Opal software that's owned by Vision Technologies. The camera system we use is still from Vision, but as we all know, the assessments going out into the field is done by another company. So we did keep the Vision camera software. That camera software works with the Opal software through an export facility and populates the databases. So when the new company does their assessments, they put it into the Vision software. It'll, whatever it comes up to being, it's out of my purview.
So for the record, I'm very happy with what we've done so far. I'm very happy with the fact that these technologies work together. I will be really happy when we hire a full-time tax assessor. So if anybody in the public is concerned about the software, you really should be more concerned with the fact that we are still trying to hire a full-time tax assessor. That's where everything comes together for the town, and we're on a very quick path, hopefully, for that to happen.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Dan, do you want to say anything else about the Opal software? Anybody else on council? Anybody from the public about the software?
If it's not time sensitive, I know there's a lot of confusion tonight. Is it something we can continue 2 weeks, just have a clear explanation? Because I want to support.
There is no explanation.
Okay.
We're keeping the software of vision appraisals, and we're hiring a different assessor. The new assessors are going to go out and get the information and put it in the system, and it's going to come up with some new numbers. And that's it. And any assessment, any year, 10% of the population are going to be unhappy with it, period.
Okay, Dan?
This software is not the CAMA system support agreement. This is actually the Opal software that actually issues the tax bills, collects the tax bills, does the rental registration, building official software. That's what this is. It's not the CAMA system. Same company, different pieces of software.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. That answers that question. You got that?
I got it.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
4-1, motion passes. Okay, number 27, a motion to approve the renewal of the Munis application services with Taylor Technologies, Inc. in the amount of $60,419 for the fiscal year 2018. This motion comes from Dan.
So move.
Second.
Questions for Dan?
Dan, why is there only one company that can do this?
This is actually a long-term agreement we signed with Tyler, it's approximately 7 years. This is our primary financial software. It does payroll, budget,
Right.
Financials, purchasing. When we signed that agreement, we did a SaaS agreement. So in other words, they're hosting the databases in Maine, and we're using it across the internet through a secure VPN connection.
Yep.
So it really is them.
But in the future, can we get more options where we not locked into?
We could, but the effort to change to a different piece of software is not something you normally do in a short period of time unless you have drastic issues with the software. Because this alone, I think, is like almost $300,000 worth of software.
Right.
So it's an expensive process. It's a long-term process to switch out. I suggest we just stay with what we've got for at least the duration. It's been working fine.
And they still can't print a budget that I can read. because it's, the print is so small.
Yeah, it is
right?
small,
Am I
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not that I can't read it, it's just that it's too small. All right.
Thank you,
Yes.
Dan. Any other questions? Anybody from the public? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
5-0, motion passes. 28, a motion to reschedule an annual performance review on the town manager. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. So we had scheduled this summer, and I know there were some conflicts. People on the council couldn't make the date, so I have 2 suggested dates that might be more desirable. One is Monday, September 4th, or Monday, September 18th. Well, I can't now. We just did the public hearing. Is Labor Day, and that's a public hearing on the 18th. So the next, I guess it would be the next council meeting in September, which would be the end of the month. What's the date, do you know?
Could we do it, Susan, on an off night?
Yeah,
On the
we tried
25th,
that, and that
September
was-
25th?
September 25th, on a Monday off
We don't
night?
have anything there yet, do we, Ian?
Are we clear on that? Because I'm fine with that, I think. The 25th, which is an off night,
6 p.m., 6:30?
I just hope that I don't have a conflict. Can we
Candidates
say?
for audience.
Okay, let's plan on September 25th. What time did you want to say?
I'm going to say 6:30.
6:30. Can we just pick a second date just in case
Sure.
that fails? You want to just look at the Tuesday? Same thing?
Yes, the next day, just the
next
Tuesday,
day,
the
just-
26th.
Yeah, just in case.
That's fine, yeah, it's in a backup. So move to schedule
For the 25th.
the review for September 25th at 6:30 PM.
And
If
the
that
backup
doesn't
date
work,
would be the-
backup date of September 26th at 6:30 PM.
Second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. So Ann, did you get that? It's the 25th and the 26th. Great, thank you. Number 29. A motion to appoint or reappoint an individual to the Harbor Management Commission for a 3-year term to expire on June 30th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Move to appoint Harvey Cataldo.
I'll second that.
I do have one question. Were there any other applicants?
It's a reappointment.
Oh, it's a reappointment, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Aye.
Congratulations, Harvey. Keep up the good work. Number 30, a motion to appoint an individual to the Land Conservatory Trust to fill a vacant seat for an unexpired 3-year term ending on January 1st, 2018.
I move to appoint Jerry Brunetto.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion. Before we do that, I just want to, Chris Goglia has submitted a letter of resignation. He's just done a great job and is unable to continue. Really felt badly about it, but I'm sure he'll be back, and he's still involved in other work in the town, so we want to thank him for his commitment, and we wish him well. So with that, you have a nomination
Yes.
up and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I was just going to say, this came out of the blue. This came out really last week, and transparency for the town, nobody really knew about there was an opening. So I'm wondering, and it's nothing about, Patrick, I read you the resume that you suggested, and he sounds like a fine individual, but there may be somebody who has even, a dire interest in land trust, and they didn't know about the opening.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Now, he resigned in April, right?
No, he didn't. He put a letter in April saying that he did not want to be reappointed in January. So he didn't resign. It was just last week, I believe you spoke to him and asked him to
But do we usually,
resign.
just so I know the process, because usually don't we just take whatever applications are in the town hall?
I'm satisfied with.
I'm just trying to, because
Yeah,
usually there's a
but
pile.
it's a little unique, because Chris Goglia sent an email to the Land Trust in April saying, I don't want to finish my, I know, he said, I want to stay my term, but I'm not going to ask for reappointment at New Year's, basically. So, but then recently, he's had conversations with people, and he's said, I'll step down right now. So I anticipated he'd stay on. We're the two liaisons to the Land Trust. So I just feel like there's two applications here. I would invite the two people who are applying to come to the Land Trust meeting on Thursday, put it out there for other people. I'd like them, they could see the inner workings. It's usually Ann would put on an appointment when she would have put the appointment on in January when Chris said, I'm going. So.
There were two, right? Was it
There's
Deb
two people,
Casey?
yeah.
I mean, the person that you are asking that filled out an application had it in since February, was that?
This guy?
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, I mean, I liked his resume. I thought it was great, so I don't have any issue with it. So we have a nomination.
Right, but Susan,
and a
there's
second.
another person, and it's just odd that, we're the liaisons, and it's like happening after, we're the last to find out about it, so that's all. And I haven't had a chance to even talk with Chris Goglia, as to why he's not staying till December.
So, again, we all appoint, the 5 of us, what's your pleasure?
Trust?
Well, no, this is where I'm just a little confused, because I think when I originally started this work, I was really big on bringing people for interviews, and that kind of I was told, nah, you don't really have to do that for certain things. And so I thought the process was people applied like a revolving door, and the applications were in the office, and then if there was a vacancy, we got a bunch of applications.
So, just so you know, Mike, the only boards we interview are the 5-year boards, the zoning, the planning, and the pension. When there's an open seat on any board, it's important that we fill them. If we have applicants waiting, we should fill them. It doesn't matter. We have applicants. So I feel like, whether I sit as a liaison or not, my job as part of the council is when people are stepping forward, they want to serve, Democrat, Republican, friend, not friend, we should fill the seat. We should welcome the volunteer. And so I feel comfortable with it. I'm not on the the
To welcome them
land trust,
both
yeah.
to the Thursday meeting of the land trust so they can see how it works.
So for
And
the
then we
public,
get to-
so for the public, this particular applicant, nominee, so Jerry, I guess I'm assuming is a he, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's definitely good.
So he served in the Open Space Committee in the town of Park Ridge, New Jersey for over 10 years. He's appeared before the planning and zoning boards in many towns, many times, 40-year career in retail, active and avid outdoorsman, particular interest in protecting wildlife and the environment, et cetera. So, I mean, I don't know him personally, and I don't know if I have to know him personally, but I think he's got a very good resume. But, so I'm going based on, the fact that there's piles of things in front of me that I'm reviewing and making a decision on, so I'm not sure. I thought we were making a decision tonight.
Yeah, so we have a date, Mom. Let's just, you have a first and we have a second. All those in favor of this nomination? Aye.
Aye. Abstain.
Abstain.
All right, 3 to do, 3 with 2 abstentions, so the nomination, congratulations to Jerry Brunetto. All right, very good. Okay, the next one. Number 31, a motion to appoint or reappoint one individual to the Zoning and Plating Board, Minimum Housing Board of Review for 5-year term to expire July 1st, 2022, and 2 alternate members of a 1-year term to expire on July 1st, 2018. These are reappointments of people that presently sit on the zoning, right? Robert Ferrara, and John Kennedy is an alternate, and Chris Allman, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, so I'll go back, yeah, so is there a motion? I didn't hear the motion.
yeah, you gotta move it. Somebody's gotta move it,
I'll
yeah.
move that motion.
Move Rob.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. So I'll go back to my comment about the interview process. I'm kind of not okay with this just, blanket reappointments for the zoning and planning boards. Those are two, we'll go back to the whole discussion about the planning board interviews. I think that was awkward for some people. I have no problem with it. And I have a problem with not interviewing or discussing a reappointment to these boards. They make decisions without our oversight.
Right, so.
So, I can reach out and talk to Bob Ferraro, I guess, or we can have him come before us in an executive session.
Well,
So,
listen, this is
just
the
so
guy.
you know, the policy says right now that we have in place, that we agreed on, that we voted on, is the reappointments.
No, I know, I voted no.
Okay, just so you understand that.
Right.
So the reappointments are reappointed, a new appointment is interviewed.
I understand.
So I just want to be clear, that's
I'm-
how it reads, that's the policy that we
I understand.
base our decisions on presently.
No, I understand.
But historically, we've gone both ways. We've sometimes interviewed. Patrick at first brought up the idea to interview. We did that one term. My first term, there was very much, I hate to use the word, there was not rubber stamping, but we kind of didn't really do interviews my first term. I liked the fact that we interviewed. I think if council members want to interview, I think we kind of have to.
So we can interview
Well,
for
I don't know what the other
reappointments.
thing
I
is.
don't,
If Mike wants to.
I don't- Maybe
the
If Mike
alternate?
wants to, I think
Well, I don't
we
know.
should
I don't
extend
know
that
if I
courtesy.
necessarily want to. I just think I think the policy's flawed, honestly.
So then
Well,
I
there
would-
is none.
well, there is a policy.
But we can
There-
interview.
Yeah,
We have to do it for open seats. There's
Right.
we can do it
Right,
for reappointments.
exactly.
Which we've done.
Madam President, for the record, Ferraro has a perfect attendance. I think
And
we should
he's
keep this
phenomenal.
guy. I think we
I'm-
should keep this guy, because a lot of the times, these members don't show up, and they can't perform their services. So this guy shows up every time.
I'm
I'm
watched them
comfortable.
all.
I'm
They're
comfortable
all
with it. Listen,
reappointments.
I'm totally comfortable if my fellow council folks are happy with his work ethic and his performance.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go on record to say I'm not happy with the way the policy goes back and forth, because these are political appointments to 2 very important boards. So I think these boards, I don't care if it's a reappointment or an appointment, I think they should be blanket in front of council members, even all together or individually, but it needs to be scheduled. I'm not in favor of just saying, hey, I think this person should be reappointed, especially for new council members. I've been here 9 months. I don't know these people.
Well, the people that are sitting on this board right now are excellent. They have great attendance. I've watched them in action, and I would suggest to all of you to go to make sure you see Rob and John Kennedy, because they do a phenomenal job, and then you could make a decision if you want to, you know, interview moving forward. But I have no problem with these reappointments. Do you?
I was intending to vote for Bobby tonight. I see there's hands up, Bobby Ferraro. But the point, we go back and forth, and I think the council just has to decide as a group, and the policy does change term to term. It is.
Yeah, and I don't want to derail this. I don't want to derail this reappointment. So that's not my. I just wanted to make a statement about how I feel about these
And I
appointments.
appreciate it. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the council before we vote? How about from the public? Catherine.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I'd like to know if we have any other applications on file for these positions. You know, I have nothing against Mr. Ferraro, nice guy, but if we reappoint him for 5 years, it'll be 19 years on the zoning board. And I thought that we pretty much decided that, you know, we want to cycle these people.
Yes,
Maybe
so
we
they're,
can decide.
Catherine, not to interrupt you, but they could do 2 terms and then they have to take a break. So they can no
Right.
longer, we changed that, so they can't serve
He's not
19 years.
19,
He's not 19, he's done
He's
1
4
term. This is his, would be his reappointment for his
Isn't
second.
Ferraro the one that started, oh, he hasn't been on
No, he's
14
newer.
years? No, he's only been on how
Just
many
so you
years?
know, we changed that, so no
Right.
longer can they sit for 25 years.
So when did Mr. Ferraro start on this board?
His 5
Not
years.
like a council seat where you can continue running and running.
Yeah.
He's
long as
only
you don't
1 term.
alienate us,
And
but-
just for the record, Ann, is it 1 term? And then how many applications are on file?
There are a couple, Joe Patty, there's a few of them. Yeah, but that solved that problem of having somebody on those
So he's only been on,
boards.
There's
what,
4.
5 years, Mr.
4.
Ferraro, so far?
4 years, he's
4
been there
years.
1 term.
Okay, okay. And the other 2, Kennedy's been on quite a while, right?
No,
Hasn't he
was
been an
two-
alternate for quite a while?
He's an alternate, so he's
Right.
not a full member.
He's been around.
We don't have the date, but he is an alternate member.
And I know Chris Allman is. Okay, I'm just concerned about these long lengths, you know.
Again, we changed that so that no longer exists. They get 2 terms and they have to take a break. So it's a total of 8 years, right? Because it's 2 4-year, 5-year, it's a total of 10. That's it.
I actually think going forward, because it's always awkward because the person who's up thinks that we're doing it because we don't want them, right? So they're watching at home, they think, and that's happened. That's why we get in this quagmire. I'm going to say, and I don't know if the other 4 of you agree with me, the next planning and zoning, whether it's a reappointment or an open, I think we should interview. That's my point of view.
Okay, so
I
for,
agree with Mike and Matt on that.
so for tonight, we have a reappointment for Rob Ferrara, and you have his name up?
Yes.
And do we have a second for him?
I think, did I second that? I think I did.
And all those in favor for his reappointment?
Aye.
Just
Five.
made it by the skin of your teeth there, Rob.
That's 5 to 0.
I think 5 to 0 is not really
Yeah,
the skin of
and-
your teeth of that.
Well, I mean, this could have been continued and all the other nonsense there, but that's fine.
We have John Kennedy as an alternate to that board. Does anybody want to put his...
So move as the first alternate.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5 to 0 for alternate John Kennedy. And then we have another alternate.
So move for the second alternate, Christopher Alman.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5 to 0. Thank you for the discussion on the
Matt,
policies.
I would support you. If you want to interview the next time around, I'll be on board with that.
And that concludes...
For the
that-
record.
That concludes our business tonight. We have an executive session. So I need a motion to retire to executive session of the town
Another
council.
meeting?
I will move that motion to retire
At the end
to
of,
executive session.
thank you. At the end of the July 17th, 2017 Town Council meeting in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 4246-4 and 4246-5 to discuss the acquisition and lease of real property for the public purpose in accordance with 4246-5A5 and appoint J. Patrick O'Neill as clerk pro tem.
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Mike Moretti, aye.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Matt Mannix, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye.
Susan Bonanno, aye. Thank you. Have a good evening.